What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be continuing my journey of testing the new Darkwing Blast decks with Dracoslayers. But before I begin, if you happen to enjoy content like this, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. So to start, I'm going to show a hand where I use all of the Dracoslayer monsters that we're getting in order to kind of show everything that the deck does. Then I want to show a hand in which I'll see none of the Dracoslayers at all, and then I'm going to show another hand which will be kind of a 2-card combo that you can do with minimal resources. So I'll start by reading the effects here, and Majesty Pegasus reads that its pendulum effect is, if you have a Dracoslayer or a Magispector card in your other pendulum zone, you can add one Dracoslayer pendulum monster with a different original name from your deck to your hand. Then you can destroy one card in your pendulum zone. You can only use this effect of Majesty Pegasus once per turn. I would also like to point out that it's a scale 2. And its monster effect is that this card is always treated as a Magispector card. Quick effect, you can discard this card until the end of this turn. Your opponent cannot target Dracoslayer monsters you control with card effects. Also, they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effect. If this pendulum summoned or special summoned by a Dracoslayer card's effect, you can add one field spell from your deck to your hand. Keep in mind that's any field spell. Then discard one card, and you can only use this effect of Majesty Pegasus, the Dracoslayer, once per turn. Then onto the second one, we have Ignis, and this one is a scale 7, which its pendulum effect reads, during your main phase you can shuffle one face-up pendulum monster from your extra deck into the deck, then add one Dracoslayer or Ignite monster from your deck to your hand, except a pendulum monster. You can only use this effect of Ignis once per turn, and its monster effect reads that it's always treated as an Ignite card, and if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon one Dracoslayer or Ignite monster from your deck except Ignis. And if you do, it is treated as a tuner, which is important to note, and you can only use this effect of Ignis once per turn. So the last card that we'll read here is Dynamite, and this one is a scale 6, and its pendulum effect reads that you can target one Dracoslayer or Dynomist card in your other pendulum zone, special summon it. You can only use this effect of Dynamite once per turn. And its monster effect reads that this card is always treated as a Dynomist card. If this card is tributed, you can add one face-up Dracoslayer or Dynomist pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand except Dynamite, and you can only use this effect of Dynamite once per turn. So with this out of the way, we've read through all of the Dracoslayer new main deck monsters, and as you can see, with Ignis' ability to special summon on destruction, Maiden's ability to destroy a card in your pendulum zone, and Dynamite's ability to special summon one from your pendulum zone, as long as it's a Dracoslayer or Dynomist, you can see that there's a lot of ways to extend and gain advantage with this deck. So to start the combo, I'm going to start here by activating the Majesty and activating the Ignis. From there, I can use the Majesty effect, which will allow me to add a second copy of Dynamite, which is important. I'm going to pop the Ignis. The Ignis will get me a second Maiden, or a second Majesty, and then we can use the Majesty effect, which will search us our first field spell, which will be Necro Valley. And something that people may find a little bit tedious about this deck is the fact that it can search Mystic Mine, and pendulums don't care about their graveyard, so cards like Necro Valley are easy to play as we scale the Dynamite there, and now we're going to use the Dynamite special summoning the second Majesty, and now we can normal summon the Joker. The Joker will now add us Monkey Board, and we're going to use the Monkey Board, use its effect, and now we can get the Synchron to our hand, in which now we can link away into Beyond the Pendulum and get its effect, which will add us the Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon. And from here, we can now use our Pendulum Summon in order to be able to use monster effects again. But also, because we're going to really start getting into what I like to call Part A of this combo, because this is another deck that's easily capable of going 7-8 minutes comboing, as you'll see momentarily. And something to remember is that this is still a tuner, so you're going to see that I'm going to synchro away into Ignister with them, and then I'm going to special summon a second Ignis, and from there I can fuse those away into Dynaster, and now I can use the Synchron effect to special summon the monkey board off of the scale, and now I can synchro summon an Ignister, which will allow me to special summon another Dracoslayer from my deck, which will get Luster this time around. Now, I'm going to link them away into Selene, and from here we can use the Dynaster effect, getting back another body, which will be the Dynamite that we discarded earlier, and now we can go into Zealantis here. And I'm going to read this card as this is another one coming out in Darkwing Blast, and this is the first deck that I'll be using in these videos that shows what this does. But as you can see, it takes 1+ effect monster and it's a link 4. You can only control one Zealantis, and you can only use each of the following effects of Zealantis once per turn. During your main phase, you can banish as many monsters on the field as possible, then special summon as many monsters banished by this effect as possible to their owner's field in face-up attack position, defense position, or face-down defense position. During the battle phase quick effect, you can destroy cards on the field up to the number of co-linked monsters on the field. In this deck, this last effect there really won't matter as much, but if you've ever read Ignister and Dynaster before, you'll notice that their special summon effects are not once per turn, or at least hard once per turns. And I'm going to use the Zealantis now, which will allow me to banish them all, and now I can special summon them back to the field, and now I can use the Ignister effect to get me an extra body, which I'm going to get the Luster Pendulum. I'm going to go into Dagda with the Ignister, which is important here because we have the Revolution Dragon in hand. And now I'm going to use the Ignister, chain the Dagda, and from here I can set a Scythe and get a second body. And it's important to note that you kind of run through your names with this deck if you end up comboing like this, so you have to be careful with your resources as games go on. And you'll see that I'm going to exceed here into the Paladin, and this will be to get you follow-up, in which now I can scale the Revolution Dragon, use its effect which will revive the Ignister, and now I can use the Ignister effect for a final time, which will allow me to special summon an Ignis, and I believe that's the last copy of it, which now I'm going to make Appaloosa, use the Dynaster to special summon back the Dynamite, and now I can rank 8 into Hope, rank 4 into Tornado Dragon for the Scythe, and now I have Necro Valley face up on the field with the Scythe set, Tornado Dragon, Hope Harbinger, and the Appaloosa negations. And during the end phase, and you'll see I'm going to search myself Astrograph, you can get whatever you need here. As you see, evenly can be pretty strong against this particular board. So now that you've kind of seen what all the Dracoslayer cards can do in tandem, I'm going to show what happens when you don't see any of them. And you're going to see that I have Joker and Luster Pendulum in hand, and I'm going to normal summon the Joker here, which will allow me to add the monkey board. The monkey board can then add the Odd Eyes Synchron, and from there I can activate the Odd Eyes Synchron, then Pendulum summon here for the Luster Pendulum, go into Ignister, and from here I can special summon the Maiden or the Majesty, and now I can use the Majesty effect, and we will grab Summon Breaker. So if all else fails, and you feel like your board is going to end up underwhelming, you can put your opponent under Summon Breaker as you're able to search any field spell with this deck, and this can be really tough to play around if they don't have back row, as a lot of decks like to summon more than 3 times, so being able to slow down the game with this can be extremely important for the deck's consistency. And from there, I'm going to pitch the Droplet, go into Beyond the Pendulum, which will add us a Bunbuku, which we can Pendulum summon on our next turn along with the Majesty, but now I activate the Summon Breaker, and this is basically what you'll end on. So now for the final combo, and I know that this one is kind of short, and it's because I just don't feel there's a lot to show. With these Dracoslayer cards, as far as their combos go, I feel like these three combos are the best generalization that you can kind of get on what to do, but to begin, you're going to see that I'm going to activate the Majesty, also activating the Ignis, and as I said previously, this here is pretty much combo, as we're going to add the Dynamite, pop the Ignis can then search us the Majesty, and the Majesty will get us Summon Breaker again, which we can pitch the Droplet, use the Dynamite, special summon the Majesty, and now we can go into our Beyond the Pendulum, and from here we will search our monkey board. Now we can Pendulum Summon for 2, and we'll do just that as we Pendulum Summon the Maiden and the Ignis, and now we can use the monkey board effect, searching the Joker, and now we can go into our Dagda, normal summoning the Joker, then using the Joker, chaining the Dagda. Joker will get us a copy of Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon here, as we're going to go into Tornado Dragon, activate the Summon Breaker, and now we have a way to slow our opponent down with Summon Breaker, and we also have the Scythe Lock. Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon can also get you something like a Luster Pendulum, if it comes to that. So, onto the deck profile, and you'll see that we basically went over all the new cards in just those short samples, which is why I structured this video the way I did. I feel like as long as you know what Maiden, Ignis, and Dynamite do, you should be fine, as the rest of the deck is kind of just go into Ignis, Dynaster, spam special summons, and kind of play to what your hand has. With that being said, when this deck breaks, it breaks kinda hard. And I would also like to point out, as you noticed in the first combo, you can heavily play into Nibiru, and as you see I have a bunch of side deck options here, which I will talk about as I continue through the deck profile. But before I do that, I want to read the last new card here, which is Dragonic Pendulum, and it reads, all Dracoslayer monsters on the field gain 300 attack and defense. You can only use each of the following effects of Dragonic Pendulum once per turn. If a Dragon Dracoslayer monster you control activates its effect, you can target one card on the field, destroy it. If this card on the field is destroyed, you can take one Dracoslayer or Draco Overlord monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. So as you can see, this is the only field spell that is not a Floodgate, but it's actually an extender for the deck, which can come up on combos where you'll summon Tornado Dragon earlier in order to get into your Majesty to get you the search of another field spell and stuff like that. So to start with the card by card, you're going to see the 3 Dynamite, 3 Ignis, 3 Majesty. If you're playing Dracoslayers, I just think it's smart to max out on all the names. Same thing with the Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, the Performa Pal Skull Crobat Joker, the 3 Bambuku to search your Majesty Pegasus. I would like to point out that you could play the Infernoble Arms Durandal to search out the Ignis, and the Dynomist Charge to search out your Dynamite, but because of how I constructed the deck and wanted to have more field spells, going second cards, I decided to trim down on some of those consistency cards. Then you'll see we have the should be banned section here with the Scythe, Mine, and Called By, and I think that this is one thing people may not like about the deck, but I understand also this is why Konami may have kept these cards in the game, and it's because Scythe and Mine are just such integral parts to Dracoslayers, and it will make them an interesting anti-meta choice this format because of that, even if they aren't the most fundamentally sound of decks. As you see, we also have the one Astrograph, which you can search off the Paladin to protect yourself if need be and already have follow-up, or it can even be an extender if you happen to open it with Maiden and Ignis or whatever. Then we have the 3 Luster Pendulums, and this along with the Vector Pendulum are extremely important again. It feels like I'm almost looking at Pepe all over again sometimes when I see this deck, just because of the amount of the Dracoslayer cards, along with the Performa Pal, Scroll Crobat Joker, and stuff like that. And even seeing Monkey Board in a deck, again, brings back some PTSD, but it is what it is. And then lastly, we have the Odd Eyes Synchron here, and I think that the Joker, Monkey Board, Synchron package are detrimental to this deck just because it kind of makes you use your normal summon and potentially draw the Odd-Eyes Synchron when you don't want to. But I still do feel like you have to play it, and this is one of the options that I wanted to talk about as far as the adventure engine goes. As you saw, you can combo pretty hard with this deck, and in 60 card piles you may be able to kind of throw this in, since you don't really want to trim the deck down on 40 and then add the adventure bricks to it when you're already playing all the field spells and such. But as much as it is detrimental, I do feel like it's also beneficial, so it equals out, as the Odd-Eyes Synchron being a scale 6 that you can search off of Monkey Board being a 1-card scale, and Joker being an easy 3 of that you can just normal summon isn't all too bad. I would also like to point out that you actually can hard special summon Revolution Dragon in this deck, as Ignister, Dinister, and even Paladin are all dragons, and as you saw, you actually do go into them. So that's another reason why you do play the Odd-Eyes Revolution Dragon, even though it's probably the most minor reason, as it's not something that's going to come up a lot either. Then onto the field spells, we have the 1 Dragonic Pendulum, the 1 Summon Breaker, the Necro Valley, and the Mystic Mine. I feel like these are just the best field spells to play. You can potentially play Sky Iris and a Odd-Eyes package or a bigger Odd-Eyes package in order to protect your scales from targeting, have a form of extension and stuff like that. I was really just trying to drive home the point on field spells with this particular build, along with the Scythe Lock, because that's what I believe that this deck does best, searching Mystic Mine and Scythe Locking your opponent. And we have the 3 Super Polys, and this can also be something else if you would like it to be. I just thought that having the accessibility to Garura Mud Dragon as a form of removal kind of does help in case you do open up not too great. Then there's the 3 Droplets, and Droplets may look contradictory in a Pendulum deck, but the reason it's here is actually because there may be times you want to get rid of your field spells. You can always send monsters from hand to anything, but I've kind of noticed that it's usually your link monsters that you're dropletting away. And we have the 1 Reinforcement of the Army, the Set Rotation, the Draco Face-Off, and the 1 Called by the Grave to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck, we have Zealantis, which is just an MVP in this deck, being able to reuse your Ignisters and Dinister. Then the Appaloosa, the Selene, the Dagda, the Beyond the Pendulum, the Hope Harbinger, the Abyss Dweller, Tornado Dragon, Paladin, Borreload Savage Dragon, Ignister, Dinister, Garura, and Mud Dragon to round out the extra deck. Now, a little bit more about the side deck or even main deck options that you can do is you're going to see that I am showing the runic cards here. There is a slight chance that you can throw in a small runic engine if you would like to, so that you don't lose to mine and stuff like that. I don't think that this is a deck that would want to play too much of a big engine, so do keep that in mind. I've also seen people use the magician stuff, but I felt that would be better in deck that goes well beyond over 40, as I just kind of thought playing cookie cutter like this, with just the cards that you absolutely need, would get you into what you wanted more consistently. I found myself to not need the extra body as much. I'd rather just have starters. Zombie World is another field spell that you can play side. Definitely makes the Flunder matchup a lot easier, even if you already have Summon Breaker and Mystic Mine. There can be only one is really the only floodgate that you can probably make use of here. Rivalry and goes and kind of kill this deck, as does Anti-Spell, D-Barrier, and other stuff like that are stuff that you have to play around, and now Reboot is banned. Then the last cards I would like to go over are Sphere Mode and Nibiru, and I show these because with Nibiru you can kind of go the hand trap route if you would like to. Instead of the Garura Mud Dragon with the Super Polys and the Droplets, you can just put in Nibiru Imperms to try to guarantee for Nibiru, but seeing as Lulu Karos is coming out and you can kind of put that under Sprite Elf, I just think that it makes Nibiru significantly worse, which is why I only have it as an option and not necessarily a hard recommendation. As much as I do have Sphere mode. I feel like if somebody can find something with like the adventure stuff here, where you don't necessarily need Joker, but can continue to consistently make your Dracoslayer plays without having to normal summon, the deck would significantly benefit from that. Those are just some of my closing opinions. Anyways, if you made it this far into the video, I hope this helped and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, what you would like to see, feel free to leave them down below. Oh, I apologize if you have to wait a little, as I do want to speed through all the Darkwing Blast decks, but I will get back to you. Anyways, have a good one everyone. It's Bones, signing out.